Hello everybody, welcome to Dirty Air. I'm your host Alex Lambert. We have a whole lot of news to talk about today. The NASCAR offseason news just continues to hammer us. I mean, it's coming like left and right. Like I said, the busiest offseason ever. We get package changes, rule changes, race link changes. It has everybody on Twitter fired up. Let's try to get into it. Let's try to talk about it all. First off, we are now less than a week from the Los Angeles Clash. I want to talk a little bit about that. Like I said, I want to mention this Martinsville taking 100 laps off the race situation, which has fans heated, NASCAR fans heated, at least on Twitter. And then, of course, Dale Jr. was inducted into the Hall of Fame last week, and I'm going to tell you why Dale Earnhardt Jr. is the most important personality in NASCAR today, even though he's no longer a driver. So, first off, Los Angeles Clash. Less than a week from the Los Angeles Clash, I think NASCAR Race Hub's actually going to be there tonight at 6 o'clock on Fox Sports. So definitely I'm going to check that out. I'm kind of excited for that. I want to see what the cameras are going to look like, at the track. I want to see something at the track happen, which even if it's just guys, standing around talking, I still want to see it because I'm really excited to see this. NASCAR fans have never seen NASCAR stars inside of a quarter-mile track, Coliseum, football stadium. I mean, you don't see this often. This is not every week thing. This has never happened before, and it's going to be very exciting, and I'm happy for it. Although there is some negative news about the Los Angeles Coliseum. According to Adam Stern, thank goodness for Adam Stern. I'm going to use him and Bob Pockris a lot today, like I always do, because these guys have all the great news. But anyway, according to Adam Stern on Twitter, about 50,000 people are expected to attend the Busch Light Clash at the LA Coliseum this Sunday. I'm disappointed with that number. Maybe if NASCAR, and for a few reasons. First off, NASCAR has been advertising this race like crazy. They've been advertising the tickets. They've been advertising the TV coverage. I think there'll be a lot more people on TV watching than, the previous Daytona Clashes. But NASCAR's been advertising this. They advertised it during the Los Angeles Rams game last night. That was on Fox. The NFC Championship game, right? On Fox. Two California teams on Fox. They advertised that. They advertised this during the Green Bay game a few weeks ago that had a California team in it. The advertisements, the amount of star power that NASCAR is putting into this. I mean, we have huge celebrities going to perform at this event, correct? We have all this money being put in to build a track inside the LA Coliseum. All the history at the LA Coliseum. I think 50,000 is a disappointing number. I was hoping this race would sell out. From what I understand, there's about 78,000 seats available to buy. Obviously, you have to take out some for putting the track in. You can't have fans sitting right next to the track. You have to back up a little bit, so you can't sell the tickets right next to the catch fence, or right in front of the catch fence. Obviously, you have to put the catch fence there, which takes up seats. But from what I understand, there's about 78,000 seats available for this event. To have 50,000 go, you're going to notice empty seats. From what I understand, NASCAR said they want a full bowl. I think 50,000 will look good, but it's not going to look sold out. It's not going to look great. Obviously, if you have 60 or 70,000 people there, it's going to look almost sold out. And it says about 50,000. Could we have less than 50,000 fans show up to the Clash? I think that's disappointing with the amount of effort that NASCAR has put in. I think we need more people there. I'm sorry, I don't. That's a disappointment to me with the amount of effort that NASCAR put in. Not only that, NASCAR claimed that Los Angeles, LA, a huge market for NASCAR. This is a city that loves NASCAR. We have a whole lot of fans in LA. Where are they at? Los Angeles is the biggest city in the United States. If this is one of the cities, the biggest city in the United States, if this is one of the cities where you have a whole lot of fans, why aren't they turning out to a major event, a huge event for NASCAR? But let's try to get on the positive side of this. NASCAR, also reported by Adam Stern, NASCAR has boosted the purse for the Busch Light Clash by $750,000 to just under $2 million total per sources to compensate for the larger field and the farther travel than usual for the race this year. I think that's obviously good news. Obviously, you have more cars. Obviously, you're traveling farther than you would for a normal Clash. Usually, the Clash is at Daytona. Daytona's closer to Charlotte, for one, than Los Angeles. All these teams are located in Charlotte. Los Angeles is way farther than Daytona. Not only that, you're going to Daytona anyway for the Daytona 500. So, definitely, a much more cost to take cars and travel all the way across the country farther and then to come right back. You know, you're coming right back to Charlotte to go to Daytona. You're not staying in Daytona or staying in LA. So definitely glad they decided to raise the purse. I think that's needed from, just under $2 million total. Hopefully, and also there was some rumors that the teams, like the owners, would tell the drivers to not be aggressive and to kind of let the race just play out to get our sponsor shown instead of actually race hard for the win. Hopefully that'll help with that. I don't think we would have saw that anyway, but there were some rumors that the drivers would be told not to race hard because they didn't want to tear the next gen car up. They want to be able to reuse their car. And we know with the next gen, the whole point of the next gen is to be cheaper for the teams, right? But the cars are more expensive themselves. One car is more expensive than a Gen 6 car, but you can reuse the car. So obviously going to LA and destroying the car in a non-points exhibition race is not something that a team owner, somebody who pays millions of dollars for race cars, is going to want to do. Maybe if you increase the purse where it would be, a win would be, hey, maybe we're going to get hundreds of thousands of dollars if we win this race, even if we tear up the car, go out there and win it, Not only that, we get the publicity of the sponsors. NASCAR's been taking this as a huge event. They have a lot of stars there, have a lot of people watching. We want to get our sponsor out. That could open the door for more sponsors. I think this is a perfect opportunity. Drivers need to be pushing hard, and I think the teams want to win this race at the LA Coliseum. So that's really all there is to talk about that. Like I said, less than a week away. I'm definitely excited for it. There has been some controversy on Twitter because the Martinsville Spring Race, according to Bob Pockrass, the Martinsville Spring Night Race will be 400 laps instead of 500. The stages will be 80 laps, 100, and then 220 laps. Accommodates the fact that it is a night race. The fall playoff race, the playoff elimination race, actually, it's the second to last race of the season, will still be 500 laps. The only scheduled 400 lap cup race in Martinsville history was in 1956. So that will end, so we will now end a 65-year streak of 500 lap races at Martinsville, and fans did not take this very lightly. I've seen comments on Twitter saying they want to sell their tickets, they want to resell the tickets, they're going to try to sue NASCAR because they bought a ticket to a race advertised as a 500-mile race, and now it's 400 laps, 500 laps to 400 laps. I'm planning on attending this race. I don't have my ticket yet, but I'm planning on attending this race. I don't see a huge problem with them lowering the amount of laps. I mean, if I look at the last 20 Martinsville races, when do the big moments happen? When do the exciting moments happen? They happen within the last 50 to 100 laps, or the last 50 laps in most cases. You don't have big major events and key roles in the race happen in the first 400 laps, or in this case will be the first 300 laps. That's not how it goes. I understand why NASCAR maybe wanted to shorten it. I don't think it would have been a problem to leave it at 500, but I guess NASCAR wants, less TV time. It is a Saturday night. Potentially not many people would sit in front of the TV all night. So I understand NASCAR's decision, late Saturday night race. Not only that, Martinsville doesn't have the best lighting around the racetrack, so maybe they want to get fans out of there a little bit earlier. I don't know if that would have something to do with it or not, potentially. Because I've been to Martinsville. It's not a very fan-friendly place as far as leaving the racetrack. Obviously, the roads are big enough, but there's no lights around the track or anything like that on the roadways. But yeah, like I said, the fall race will still be 500 laps. I don't think it's a huge problem to have a 400-lap race at Martinsville. Like I said, the finish is going to be great regardless of how many laps there are. I mean, you're going to be racing harder in the last 100 laps regardless of if it's the last 100 laps of a 500-lap race or 400-lap race. I don't know why fans are so upset about it. I guess because they get less racing. I guess. I don't know. They've been talking about how they need less Texas instead of less Martinsville, which I can agree with less Texas too. Maybe no Texas. Don't take it too far, but less Texas would be good. But anyway, just a little bit of, just wanted to mention that. I don't know why. This is one of those few moments, this is one of those moments where NASCAR fans kind of overreacted. At least vocal NASCAR fans. I think most fans are okay with it, but you have the vocal ones on Twitter that are very upset. I think this is one of those moments where it's really not a big deal. I mean, it really doesn't matter how many laps the race is. I mean, if you have a 100-lap race, then yeah, I would complain. But it's 400 laps. That's fine. There's still going to be plenty of time. Still going to be 3 to 4 hours of racing. It's going to be fine. Dale Jr. last week was inducted into the NASCAR Hall of Fame. He was actually inducted with two other drivers. The two other drivers were Red Farmer and Mike Stefanik. I believe I said that right. And I'm going to tell you why I think Dale Earnhardt Jr. is the most important personality in NASCAR. I'm trying to keep this quick. I've been wanting to talk about this for quite some time, but I've never got the chance to do so until finally now. I finally fit some time into this show to talk about Dale Earnhardt Jr. and why he is extremely important. I was going to try to fit it in last week, but I just had so much to talk about. There's so much news coming at us, like I said. But Dale Jr. is extremely important to NASCAR because he is, for one, extremely popular. I mean, regardless if somebody's a NASCAR fan or not, you know exactly who Dale Earnhardt Jr. is. I mean, he's a extreme celebrity. Everybody knows him. Everybody in NASCAR knows him. Everybody in the United States knows him. People across the world know him. He's a household name to everybody. Everybody knows who Dale Earnhardt Jr. is. But not only that, Dale Jr. is very vocal. He calls NASCAR out on the stuff they mess up at. And I think that is good, where I think potentially other people that are important or other commentators like Rick Allen and Steve Letarte and Mike Joy would not be able to do so. Obviously, Dale Jr. wants to make it look good on TV, right? That's what he's getting paid to do. He's a commentator for NBC Sports. He wants to make NASCAR look good on television, along with every other commentator. But there's been moments where somebody will do the exact same thing as Dale Earnhardt Jr., and Dale Earnhardt Jr. gets no criticism for it, where somebody else will. And that's not Dale Jr.'s fault at all, but that opens the door for Dale Jr. to be more vocal. And he uses it in a very, I think, professional way. He has the Dale Jr. Download show. He has a Law Speedway show where he does a whole lot of stuff. People watch Dale Earnhardt Jr., and NBC knows that. That's why they put him on TV all the time. And I think it's very important. He's vocal. He mentioned some stuff about how NASCAR has not treated the fans at the track as important as much as they needed to. He actually complained a lot about Talladega being postponed this last year in the fall race. The October race at Talladega was postponed while it wasn't raining. And Dale Jr. was very upset about that, saying that NASCAR should have at least tried to start the race, even if you wouldn't have finished it, or even if you wouldn't have got to halfway, at least start the race. At least get some action in to show the fans that you attempted to get the race started. And I think that's very important for NASCAR, that Dale Jr. is very vocal. He continues to call out NASCAR for multiple things. And I just think it's very important that we have somebody to do that. So not only, I guess this is really just me kind of congratulating Dale Earnhardt Jr. on making it to the Hall of Fame. But also I wanted to mention how important he is to NASCAR. He's extremely popular. He's very vocal. He explains things. And he's very professional when he talks about certain issues that NASCAR needs to fix. He doesn't just continue to bash NASCAR. He talks about how NASCAR does good things and bad things and what they can improve on. And he can do that, and he's in a position to where I don't think Rick Allen could do that without getting more heat or trouble from a producer, or Steve Letarte, or Mike Joy, or Larry McReynolds, or these guys. I think that Dale Jr. has kind of a little bit more of a cushion. I mean, you don't want to start a fight with Dale Jr. Look what happened to the last person who tried to start a fight with Dale Jr. It didn't end well for Teresa Earnhardt. She's known as she tried to start a fight with Dale Jr., and she was obviously in the wrong if you look at all the situations, but she's the most hated person in NASCAR. They call her the Wicked Witch of the South, the Wicked Witch of NASCAR, all sorts of names. From what I hear, if you mention her name in the garage, people will get furious. So that is that's what happens when you pick a fight with the most popular driver in NASCAR, and that gives him a platform where and the amount of fans he has gives him a platform to talk and express his opinion. So I think he's very important in NASCAR. Just wanted to kind of talk about that for a little bit. The last thing I'm going to mention here, Hollywood has actually taken down, the last bit of news here right before I go away, Hollywood has taken down the Hollywood sign and put up a new name. One of the best, personally I think the best NASCAR driver in NASCAR right now. You see a picture of it now. That is now up in Hollywood instead of the Hollywood sign. That is all I have to talk about. And of course, hope you guys tune in. By the way, tune in next week for the LA Clash review video. That'll be on Sunday right after the race. I really hope you guys watch it. It's exciting. I want to be able to, give my opinion on it and analyze the race. But that's it. And of course, like the sign says in Hollywood, where the Hollywood sign used to stand, let's get rowdy.